And a few surprises in the latest CBS News New York Times poll, which shows Herman Cain is now leading the Republican pack. Most GOP voters, though, it turns out, still haven't made up their minds, even after 8 debates and a few more, which we know are to come on the calendar. CBS News political correspondent Jan Crawford is in Washington this morning with more for us. Jan, good morning. Let's take a look at these numbers. First of all, so as we mentioned, Herman Cain now in the lead here, 25%. Romney follows by 21. Rick Perry has slipped to 5th place now with 6% of support here as we see Gingrich move up. Walk us through these numbers, Jan.
Well, I think what's striking about this poll is just how big of a hill Rick Perry is going to have to climb if he is going to get back into this race. He led our poll 1 month ago, and now his numbers have almost flipped with Herman Cain. They've just jumped right past each other. And what is also really interesting is I think that says the more that people see Rick Perry, the more they seem to like Herman Cain. The other thing that we're seeing in this poll is that Mitt Romney's numbers, while these two are kind of flipping back and forth and we've seen people come and go, Mitt Romney's numbers are staying really consistent. Throughout our polling, he's been either in 2nd place, like he is today, or tied for 1st. So we're seeing him kind of have this ground of support that I think is going to bode well for him as this thing goes forward.
And when we look at some of the other numbers from this poll, a lot of people are paying attention to this race. 70% of registered voters say they're paying attention. 31% are paying a lot of attention. Republicans a little bit more than Democrats, but overall they're watching. When it comes to registered Republicans, though, who are going to vote in the primaries, 80% of them, Jan, say they haven't made up their mind yet. Is that surprising?
No, that's very consistent with polls historically at this point in the cycle. But two things that are significant in that, I think 78% of Republicans are paying attention to this race right now. We've seen that reflected in the viewers who are tuning in to these debates among the Republican candidates. And when I go out there and talk to voters and listen to these candidates, they're all saying the same thing. They think this election is historic, that they have to get the White House back from President Obama to put this country back on the right track. That's what you hear over and over. That's measured in the intensity of support among Republicans. And then secondly, the fact that this many people haven't made up their mind, obviously very good news for Rick Perry, who is mounting an aggressive attack to get back into this race. Watch out, Herman Cain. You're the front runner. He is going to start taking it.
And to get a closer look at how we could see some movement there, we want to bring in now Charlie Black, Republican strategist who's worked on 9 presidential campaigns, including John McCain's in 2008. Charlie, good to have you with us this morning. When you look at this field, you look at these numbers, and you look at the number of Republican primary voters who are still undecided here, there is an opportunity. Who do you think could stand to benefit the most from that opportunity at this point?
Well, at the moment, Herman Cain certainly has come from nowhere to establish himself as one of the front runners, sort of a statistical tie with Governor Romney in your poll. And Rick Perry could make a comeback. Governor Perry has a great record. He has a lot of money. He has very experienced national advisors. But Governor Perry's got to win Iowa. This is not a national contest. It's a series of state contests. Perry has to win Iowa to be competitive, and standing between him and a victory in Iowa is Herman Cain. So I think Jan's right. They're going to be mixing it up some.
So they're going to be mixing it up. What specifically, though? Rick Perry, we know, is releasing details today of his flat tax plan, obviously hoping to change the conversation a little bit back to the economy. What specifically does he need to do between now and Iowa to win Iowa, Charlie?
Well, he's going to have to. He's competing for a bunch of conservative voters with Herman Cain. The Romney vote is pretty solid and steady. It's especially solid in New Hampshire. Nobody else is going to win New Hampshire. So conservatives have to peel away from Cain and go to Perry. That can be done with issue presentations, but it's also going to have to be with contrast on the issues with Cain. Now, a flat tax is popular among Republicans, and so Governor Perry will get some attention for this plan, but there's one thing in it that's not going to be popular. He's limiting charitable deductions for people who make over $500,000 a year. The majority of money that goes to charities in this country is from those people. So this is going to be one problem in his plan.
Let me ask you really quickly about Michelle Bachmann, who, like Rick Perry, did pretty well out of the gate, especially after that straw poll in Iowa. We saw her support in this latest poll slip to 2%. And there was, of course, all of this falling out in New Hampshire. The staff resigns. There's a little back and forth in the public as to whether they resigned, whether they didn't. And she says she's solely focused on Iowa. Does she still have a chance here?
Well, she does have a chance because if you look at Iowa, she's competitive. She's very strong in Iowa organizationally. She's an effective campaigner there. I think Iowa's a toss-up right now. Bachmann, Perry, Romney, maybe even Cain could win Iowa. So it's a toss-up, and Michelle's very much competitive there.
It's all a toss-up. Jan, one last quick question to you, because I know you've been in touch with the Perry campaign. Have they given you a sense of what their exact strategy is at this point? We heard from Charlie what they should be doing. Does it jive with what you hear from the campaign?
It does, and we saw that in the debate last week. A newly aggressive Rick Perry really going after Mitt Romney, trying to claw his way back into this race. I mean, listen, this was a guy who looked great in the preseason, like the NFL teams, and when he got out on the field to start the season, he fell apart. Now, this game, it's not even halftime really yet, so he can get back into this and win this thing, but he's going to start what his campaign is telling me with this aggressive strategy. Saw it in the debate. He's got a new campaign staff, as Charlie mentioned, bringing in a lot of national advisors with experience to energize this campaign. And then also, as Charlie was talking about, rolling out this flat tax plan today. That's going to get a lot of support from conservatives. But again, he's under the microscope too. And as Charlie just told us, there are things in that plan that may not add up for him.
Jan Crawford, Charlie Black, appreciate it this morning. Thank you.